Greetings, Neuse Little Pod listeners. This is your host, Matt Gore, reminding you to please like, follow, subscribe, and share the podcast on your available podcast apps such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and any other podcast app you can think of. Share our episodes on Facebook and let us know what you think with a comment or review. Now, please enjoy the show. Good evening and welcome to Neuse Little Podcast. This is an audio program talking about the backstage antics and stories of running a small town community theater on the banks of the Neuse River located in Smithfield, North Carolina. We lovingly refer to the old girl as the Hut. We hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to an episode of Neuse Little Podcast. It's been a while. This is our first episode of 2023. We've been silent, holidays and all that stuff, and we thought it's been a while, and let's go ahead and talk about some movies that came out in 2022. Before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to the upcoming production here at NLT. It's Monte Carlo, and that is directed by Stephanie Viren, and it will go up on Friday, February 17th, 18th, at 8 o'clock, and then February 19th for the 3 o'clock matinee, and then the following week will be February 24th and February 25th for the evening shows at 8 p.m. So 5 shows. Call 919-934-1873 to reserve your seats. Thank you. All right, so if you've been listening to our podcast, we do movie episodes every once in a while. And they're usually kind of more looser than our other episodes where we interview people. And this time I decided, since we've done 2 movie podcasts before and they were all men, that we needed a female voice. So I invited Abigail Jordan, who is a movie lover, to come here and talk about some of her favorite movies this year. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And then, of course, my old standby, my buddy Keith Davis, is here.
What's going on?
Also a cinephile himself and keeps up with the movies this year.
I do my best.
Yes, thank you for being here. And even the Mita Toole is even going to chime in on a new movie that she saw. One of 2 new movies that she's actually seen this year.
I'm going to be, basically, my whole job here is to go, nah, I haven't seen it. I can't have an opinion. I haven't seen it.
If I want Mita to watch a new movie, I have to strap her down to a chair, Clockwork Orange style.
I got threatened.
Just watch it, okay?
If I was going to be allowed to
I was wondering why I had been invited for the female perspective. I was like, Mita's here.
I don't watch movies.
Tamara asked that on the way over here. What about Mita? I'm just I beg Mita to watch new movies. She just doesn't.
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. If I go to the movies, I go by myself because the rule is the lights go out, so does Steven.
I do have to say, though, I'm a little, nervous is not the right word. I just know that you guys are, much more serious about your movies than I am.
No, this is way more laid back. But if you listen to the last podcast we did on movies, I just made fun of my brother for 30 minutes about Spider-Man.
Okay.
I would
there was a lot of Spider-Man.
Oh God! I was like, please, let's. Don't worry about that. We're just here to have fun and talk about the movies and just BS. Like I said, there's no really form structure. If you guys think of something, chime in. It's not a big deal.
But we are sitting around at the jug.
Yeah.
All right.
Basically.
We are going to try to do it with movies that all 3 of us have seen. The first movie we're going to talk about today is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Okay, this movie is released way back in February, so it's been out a while, but it's hard to get on streaming. I think it's on Stars or something like that, so I had to watch it.
I think it's HBO Max, but...
No, it's not.
No?
Because I remember looking for it, and I had to buy me an old-fashioned Blu-ray to watch it.
I'm surprised that this film has such traction after being, a year.
Yes, that rarely
afterward.
happens. This has happened a little bit more in recent years, but historically, movies that are released in the beginning of the year are kind of not as awards baity as movies released at the end of the year.
Do you think it's because things stream now more?
Maybe. It is definitely that.
So it's not in the movie theater, out of the movie theater, and forgotten. Now it's
here's
stream.
the thing. They really, really pushed. There was a really big push to, get it back into theaters and have everybody see it. I was all over, at least for me, my social media last year, and all the poll quotes about how amazing it was. And so, honestly, that's part of the reason I went and saw it. I was like, okay, there's something going on here. So, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the cast. I loved seeing Jamie Lee Curtis.
The tired government worker who's fed up with everybody's shit.
Mm-hmm. I will say that I think it's a little overlong. I did find myself checking my watch closer to the end.
Coming from somebody who I think all movies are way too long these days, so.
And then the other thing is, honestly, for me, what it boiled down to was, do you guys remember a children's book that I think that it was about a mother rabbit and her child rabbit, and the child was upset, and he was like, I'm going to run away, and she's like, no matter where you go, I'll find you. And he's like, well, what if I became a bird and flew away? And she, like, well, then I will become a bird and I will find you, and I will.
I think it's called I Love You This Much.
Yes. Okay.
How Much I Love You.
How Much I Love You. Thank you.
How Much I Love You.
That is the voice of Tamara, our resident librarian in the back.
And to me, that was the crux of this movie. I was like, oh, okay, I'm watching How Much I Love You in absurd multiverse form.
We should briefly recap the plot, even though it's not going to do any good. Telling you about this movie's plot is really not going to be a disservice to it, because you have to see it.
Yeah.
It is about tangentially, it is about, stripped down, a woman who runs, an overworked mother who runs a laundromat with her husband, who is loving and caring but not very good with money. That's the simple way of putting it. Who they take care of their father. Her daughter is a lesbian, but they are Chinese, so in their culture, they're not exactly. The grandfather wouldn't be as hip as most people would nowadays, so they're worried about telling her that. And then all of a sudden, they go to the IRS, and boom, the husband switches personalities and says, "There's a multiverse out there, and you're the only one that can save us."
And it's the Chinese New Year, and there's a big party coming.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it all branches off of her life if she'd have taken different directions. Okay. And there's a version of her where she is a actress, and she's a world famous actress, and her husband's a world famous businessman. They meet at a world famous Kennedy honors like ceremony, and they kind of reconnect and say, like, look how wonderful our lives would be if we didn't get together and stuff like that. And then there's one where she's a delivery person, and then there's one where everybody has hot dog fingers.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's like the Matrix and the multiverse smashed together. And also keep in mind that her daughter is in every one of these multiverses.
Yes, and kind of spoiler, sorry, she ends up being the bad guy. And I will say Multiverse in this movie is done way better, in my opinion, than the Doctor Strange movie that did kind of like 3 or 4 other multiverses. This one does like 50.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And you kind of get to see kind of every little line, like how your life could branch off with like little decisions and stuff like that. Right. Now, having said this, we'll do me last. Keith, what did you think of this movie?
I think it's a wholly original film. I think the screenplay should get a special note in itself. Like it's not something that you would see every year.
No.
Yes. It's directed by, I forget their name. I forget.
The Daniels.
They're credited as Daniels because
Yeah.
they both have Daniel in their name.
Yeah.
And I hate that, but okay.
They also did Swiss Army Man.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that.
Was that Daniel Radcliffe?
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano, I think. No, who's the other guy? I don't remember.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll look that up.
Get on that, Tamara.
Get back check.
It's like, what?
Who was the Paul in Swiss Army Man?
I want to say it's Paul Dano. But
Anyways, who cares?
Yeah.
But these guys are really creative, and you were saying about the screenplay?
Yeah. Like I think it should just get nominated. I don't know if the screenplay was a category at the Golden Globes or not.
I think it got nominated, but it didn't win.
Yeah.
When they do screenplays, they do it stupid. They do screenplays only 5, whereas at the Academy Awards they separate it into original and adapted, so where there's 10.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
They should.
Paul Dano.
It was Paul Dano, yeah, because one of them was farting corpse, and the other one was the living body on the island, and they had to survive together, pretty much.
If you saw this movie, I was like, well, that tracks, because it's a weird out there movie. Michelle Yeoh gives a great performance.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. When I finally saw this movie, it was way hyped, and I kind of was a little let down by it. Me and Tamara started to watch it, and 20 minutes in, she was like, "I'm out." And I was like,
weird.
I wanted to like this movie more than I did.
Yeah.
Like I said, there was a huge media push. It was hyped. Like
I really didn't like the scene that was touted the most. Is like, oh, you got to see this. This is the coolest scene in the movie. It's the scene where he has the knapsack and he's hitting everybody. I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
I don't understand why this is yeah, it's cool that he's beating up these security guards with a knapsack, but I just don't
It's
understand.
a fanny pack.
It's a fanny pack. Okay.
It's like improvised weaponry in that situation. Like that's interesting,
He's literally putting rocks in it to make it like heavier, so he could swing it at him and stuff like that. And this is the first. And Michelle Yeoh, half the movie is her in the background going, "What? And it just gets a little. For me, I like it at the end. I mentioned before they had that big scene where they reconnect, and they're both very famous. And there's a beautiful little scene where it's raining outside, and she's like, "Don't you understand? Like, we could have had all this. Like we should have gotten divorced. We should never have gotten together at all." And then he's like, "Maybe you're right." And then he kind of walks away, and he turns to me and goes like, "For what it's worth, I would have loved to spend my life doing taxes and running a shitty laundry with you." And it's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
That's the best part of the movie, easily.
Yeah.
But for me, it just all the adding up didn't come. It didn't. The sum total didn't kind of work for me. And
I think the angst, the daughter's angst, was overwrought.
Yeah.
Like I said, when it finally got to the scene, I think with them as rocks, and that doesn't.
Googly eyed rocks. Yeah.
There's an alternate multiverse where they are rocks. They're literally rocks.
Having
moving.
not seen this is the most out of left field comments I've ever heard.
But when it finally gets to that scene, and like I said, I had the for me epiphany about, oh, okay, I'm watching This Is How Much I Love You in the multiverse. Like that's the point of this movie, and it's like, and we're taking this long to tell that story.
Yes.
Like the effects are wonderful. The multiverse, like you said, really, really well done. Better than the Avengers multiverse so far. Who knows what to come this year? But it was a little everything everywhere all at once, and it was a lot to take in and a little much.
Yeah.
And the film editing is top notch too. On top of that,
Yeah,
so.
I will say that. I will say it does deserve a Best Film Editing Oscar nomination because the editing is amazing, and the budget was only $25 million.
Yeah.
And did a hell of a lot for just $25 million.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to say it pulled 100 mil.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, those guys will get work off this for sure. As we mentioned,
Costuming and makeup. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Ke Huang Khan, who you might not know, played Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Okay.
He was also in The Goonies. Is kind of having a career resurgence over this, and will bet the house on him winning Best Supporting Actor for sure. All right, let's move on to a little bit. These we got the weird one out first. So we got kind of more of these mainstream movies now. Let's talk about The Menu. A big theme this year in movies is bashing rich people, is bringing rich people down to earth, and this movie is definitely catered towards that. And I think it does it a little bit better than the third movie we're going to talk about it. But I digress.
Right.
The Menu is absolutely in my top 5 for the year. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. I was looking forward to it, and it did not disappoint when I saw it in theaters.
This movie is directed by Mark Mylod. He directed several of the really good episodes of Succession, so up-and-coming director. As a very original screenplay, I'm sorry I don't have their names right in front of me, but it should be nominated for Best Original Screenplay. This movie stars Anna Taylor-Joy and Nicholas Hoult and Ralph Fiennes.
The writers were Seth Rice and Will Tracy.
Well done. Seth Rice and Will Tracy. They deserve a nomination. Stacked tiers for screenplays this year, so I'm not sure if that's going to happen. But anyways, so Anna Taylor-Joy and Nicholas Hoult are a couple that arrives on this very exclusive island with this very exclusive restaurant and this very exclusive chef. And now they're going to... Obviously, they probably paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for one night to be at this restaurant, and the movie is played out over like the courses, kind of like acts, like Act 1, Act 2, like course 1, course 2, appetizer. You know this better than I do, because
Did you fall asleep during this one too?
No. No, because I don't eat in restaurants like this.
I don't eat in restaurants like this either, but
Yeah, you do.
But I don't know what kind of money you think I have, but it's not that. But
Beef
I do
tartare.
love foodie stuff. This is true. I did make me try beef tartare.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I do love foodie culture, and I love chef stuff. So this was right up my alley.
So, everybody, the movie is kind of like a mystery box, kind of like why are people here and stuff like that. But what it really does is it skewers the rich in a really cool way, because everybody there has been an asshole and is rich. There's like a terrible food critic there who like closes restaurants with her reviews. There's these money grubbers, these like
Tech bros.
Yeah, tech bros.
bros,
Yes,
yeah.
these Wall Street guys who are just there, kind of like to be douchey and like to say they were there and stuff like. There's this rich old money couple who has gone through nothing but Travis. They're there because like, oh, we're rich, we're supposed to.
Yeah,
do it.
they've been to this restaurant and this experience like a dozen times, and it's basically because they can.
Because it can't. Like we're
So
rich.
basically, you have a lot of like every stereotype.
Yes.
Yes.
Wealthy.
This is
Exactly.
the Avengers of rich douches.
Nicholas Holt plays.
The worst.
He plays a quote unquote foodie, the person who takes a photo of everything and who doesn't want to share his food, and like
It would be like me if I was on a Quentin Tarantino set. I would be insufferable.
Yeah.
I would be. It would be awful. Like you go, no, you got to do it like this. No, you're not doing it right. No, like no, there's a reason for there. Like no, he's serving us bread with no sauce. There's a reason for that. You just don't get it.
No, you can't. You can't smoke before you eat because it's gonna ruin your palate.
yeah. And what they reveal about his character and Anya Taylor-Joy and how she gets there, how he brings her to this experience it is really terrible at the end. Like I understand how and why he gets his comeuppance.
Everybody here is rich except Anna Taylor-Joy is not on this very exclusive guest list, and that is effing with Ralph Fiennes. He's like,
Who plays the head chef?
who plays the head chef in a great evil performance.
Yeah.
Evil to some, maybe.
But he's not like an anti-hero or something. Like he's definitely
He's
like a cult leader.
Yeah,
of
yes,
this,
he's a cult
crew,
leader.
pretty
His
much.
staff in his kitchen are his cult. They're 100%, 1,000% devoted to him in every possible way.
They don't sleep that much. Their sleep deprivation, keep them low energy to keep them, obedient and in line.
Everybody is there voluntarily. Everybody is there voluntarily. But Anna Taylor-Joy is messing with them because like she's not supposed to be here. And over the movie, it's kind of revealed that she's not rich. She's worked as a server. She's from like a small town, and she doesn't get all this highfalutin food nonsense. And he's just like, "You gotta go. You gotta go. You're messing up with my plans." And so,
Well, it's not just that she's messing with his plans. Nicholas Holt, his character initially had a two-person date, and his girlfriend dumped him sometime between booking this reservation, and so he has brought a substitute date with him, and the meal is meticulously planned as a knife twist to every person who's there, and so she's getting what she doesn't deserve, Anya Taylor-Joy. Mm-hmm. And she's not enjoying the food, and it does that does mess with his mind, that she has no appreciation for the art or the food that's coming out, but also that she's literally not supposed to be there. And you haven't revealed.
Spoiler! This is all a big plan of his, and at the end,
everybody dies.
He kills everybody. He kills everybody. He literally.
But it also includes like him and his crew.
Yeah, he's a cult member. Everybody's
dies.
going to because you're all rich assholes, and I'm petty as he is the pettiest villain.
Yes.
His reasons for having them there are so beyond petty, which makes the movie
phenomenal,
really entertaining. Yeah. There's literally one girl who's just like John Leguizamo plays a washed-up movie star patterned after Steven Seagal. I thought and he brings along his like flunky assistants that he's having an affair with, and she's just kind of like, oh, okay, I want to branch out and do more things. She's not a terrible person. She's just kind of like in the wrong business, and in the movie when everybody starts dying, she kind of raises her hand, and goes like, can I go? I haven't done anything wrong. And he looks at her and goes like, where'd you go to school? She's like, Brown, Ivy League, student loans. No, you're dying.
Yeah. So it totally does F with his plans that Anya Taylor-Joy is there, and in line to potentially receive a punishment that she doesn't deserve.
Yeah.
In his eyes, and how she wiggles her way out is really phenomenal.
It's very creative.
She meets him. She meets him at his own gate, and she's like, "I don't want any of this frou-frou nonsense. I'm still hungry, and I want a cheeseburger. I don't want I don't want a 5-star restaurant cheeseburger. I want a greasy cheeseburger." And he's like, "Okay."
Which the movie reveals that's where he started as a diner cook.
Yeah.
The only picture of him where he's smiling.
Yeah.
The only picture, is when she sneaks in his office and sees like a little picture of him as a little 16-year-old grill cook at Scooby's Grill Shack, Employee of the Month.
But the stroke of brilliance is that she asks for her meal to go.
I gotcha.
He even says to them, like, there's a commentary about a male masculinity, is that he tells all the male customers to run. Yeah. Just run, just go, escape the island, go. And all his people immediately find them. That's because they didn't work together. They all go on their own. And there's even a guy who goes like, "Quit following me, dude, quit following me." And so that's the thing. And he even tells them at the very end, right before he gives them, he goes like, "If you'd tried hard, you could have escaped. You could have, if you'd worked together." But he goes like, "It's too late now." And he rounds them up, wraps them in marshmallow, puts big chocolates on their head, and lets everything on fire, and everybody's a s'more.
Yes. I love it. I loved that movie.
There's the shot, one of the, I mentioned the rich couple who's done this over and over again. One of the rich couple, what's her name? She's really big on Broadway. She was the mom on Transparent. Anyways.
Oh, are you thinking of Judith Light? She was the food critic.
Judith Light. No, she was the one who lost her daughter.
Oh, Janet McTeer was the food critic.
Yeah.
Okay.
From Ozark.
From Ozark, yeah.
It is Judith Light. Played the, yes.
Yeah, so she's at the end, and she's experienced so much heartbreak in her life, and she's having this chocolate melt down her face, and she just looks at the chef and says, "Thank you." And it's just like, this is beyond messed up.
Yeah. There's just so many great layers to this. Part of the reveal is that her husband did not cheat on her, but he did hire Anya Taylor-Joy months ago or whatever, basically to like talk to her as if she was their dead daughter. So when Anya Taylor-Joy sees them in this group of people getting on the island, she's like, "Oh shit, hide me."
And the movie ends with everything going up in flames, and Anya Taylor-Joy is sitting on a boat eating a very, very yummy looking cheeseburger.
Gotcha.
Yep, watching it all go up in flames.
What's very funny is just having you guys describe it. I could see where his plans were just to make these people who are so full of themselves pay for being so full of themselves.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, because they paid to come here and be treated this way. So he's taking advantage of that.
It's all a big joke.
And then you're thrown in with this person who's just normal.
Mm-hmm.
I can see where that would piss him off.
Well, the tech bros, they're like, "Don't you know who we are and who we work for?" And he's like, "Yes, you're the person you work for was a silent partner in my restaurant. And by the way, here's how I have already dealt with him."
Right.
Yeah.
There's so many layers, and how he gets Nicholas Hoult to reveal.
Oh, that's the biggest twist of the knife is how Nicholas Hoult goes out. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. He just, he has him reveal to her that he knew that's nobody else. I don't think knew that they were going to die.
Nobody else knew they were going to die, but Nicholas Hoult knows it. And he's still such a fan that he's there.
That he comes to the meal anyway.
That's weird.
And he brings a guest.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
You gotta fulfill the seating requirements.
So he reveals that, and then he basically is like, you think you could do this. You've watched all the shows, and you've studied my technique, and you think that you could cook. No.
It would be like Michael Landon going up to you like, "Hey, Mita, you watch Little House on the Prairie a lot? Build a house."
Or whatever.
Build a shack. And that's what he says. He goes like, you know everything about my technique. Come on, cook us something. Yep.
And it is the ultimate humiliation.
We have everything here. Yep. What would you like to cook?
And I think that's, as an audience, you're watching this movie and you're seeing these people, and it's like that Schadenfreude, you're watching them, and there's this weird pleasure of watching them get their comeuppance, but also this cringe, like, oh God, it's so humiliating. Mm-hmm. And everybody is so perfectly cast. I don't think there were really any weak links in that cast. So he really felt the pain.
Yeah. Going back to the pettiness of it, the reason he kills John Leguizamo is because the reason he kills John Leguizamo, you think he's like this asshole actor guy, right? But the only thing that he did to Ray Fiennes was that he starred in a movie that Ray Fiennes didn't like that he saw on his day off. He's like, I worked.
His one day off of like a year.
He's like, I have only a couple of days off a year, and then I saw this movie and I disliked it. You're
Good morning,
dying.
sunshine.
Yeah.
He's like, what? Really? I gotta die because of that? It was just a paycheck.
Yeah.
But-
I don't know. I'm not doing it justice, but I guess just because I love the culture and I love like Food Network shows and Bravo, Top Chef, and all that. Like, you know, I totally see the artistry of it. Like, they hired really excellent food technicians to design the food and cook the food. In fact, I'm totally blanking on her name right now, and she's like a really famous chef. But she not only designed the food, she cooked for the set, which is really unusual. Most of the time, movie food is props. They spray it with wax. You can't eat it. And she was like, absolutely not. Everything is going to be real.
Even the invisible bread?
But I mean, it was.
She worked really hard on that.
And you know, I mean, some of those dishes were based on dishes that she's done. Like, so think about that with the rocks and the moss and stuff. Like, those are based on actual really pretentious chefy foods. So I just thought it was really technically beautiful, and then I loved the humor. Like, it really, really dark black comedy humor, and I loved it.
There is, and it just popped into my head, there is this couple that run a restaurant, and that's what it was making me think of. And you go and it's like 10 courses or something ridiculous, and every course is something strange, and all of the reviews basically are people going, it was a plate of glass, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to eat out of this. And so these comments are made, and he's like, people don't understand my artistry and what I'm trying to say. It's like, no, they want to eat, you just charge them $1,000 a piece to come to your restaurant.
But in their mind, this is like a performance.
Exactly. Basically, they're like, there was nothing to eat on this plate.
Yeah.
They do that in the movie where there's
like
I mentioned
smoke. Like they come in like
The cloche with the
right. They pull the and it's smoke, and it's like, that's your food for this course. And it's
that'll
like,
be $400.
Yeah.
So the whole time, that's what I was sitting here thinking. I was like, yeah, there are really chefs like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting. The top restaurant in the world, what is widely regarded as the best restaurant in the world, Noma, announced over the weekend that it's closing. I think it closed yesterday for good. It's going to become a food lab and food science facility. But basically, they're like, this is not sustainable. No, it's not.
No.
When you're charging people what you're charging them and you're serving them, you know, a teaspoon per course or whatever, like, there is a point, you know, where food can be art, but your job is to feed people.
Yeah.
So it's not sustainable. And I think that movie also skewers that part of it, of the industry. Like, it's both shedding light on restaurant industry culture and the cultiness that you mentioned, how they, you know, they live there, they follow this chef's, you know, they want to emulate him.
And how much do you like it, or how much do you think you're supposed to like it?
Right.
Exactly.
Like, there's pressure on you to get it, or else you're not
Right.
cultured enough to
It's
get
like,
it.
it's
Oh, you
like,
don't get it.
I walk away hungry. It's like, well, then you just don't understand.
Right.
It feeds your soul, not your belly.
Because the credit, everybody's like, the tech bros are like, because they literally serve like
Can we
a
get some bread?
sauce, but no bread. And they do one of these artsy fartsy, like, well, there's a reason why there's no bread. It represents blah, 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 blah.
The common
And then the
people.
guy
You guys aren't
is like,
common
okay, yeah,
people,
that's hilarious,
you know.
but
Can we get some bread?
let me get some bread.
No.
And they're like, no. There's a Vietnamese
it's
waiter.
all about the flavors that aren't.
She's
on
not the
plate.
waiter. She's the house manager.
House manager, yes.
Front of house.
She has the line reading of the year. One of the courses is tortillas, but they've laser printed pictures on the tortillas. Like, you're not supposed to take a picture of the food. So Nicholas Hoult, being the douche that he is, just takes out his phone real quick, takes a picture of the food. You're dying. Why are you taking a picture of the food? So he takes a picture of the food, and then a couple of, 30 minutes later, he gets his tortilla, and laser printed on the tortilla is him taking a picture of the food.
And he's mortified. He's like, do you think the chef likes me? Do you think he doesn't like me? Blah. You know, freaking out.
And the tech bros are like, yeah, this is funny. Like, what is this? And then the house manager goes, these are tortillas. in the most condescending, like obviously you've never heard of tortillas. Let me explain it to you.
Yeah, their tortillas are laser printed with copies of emails and receipts of them embezzling money.
Yes. Okay. So they're looking at it like, oh,
they're
shit.
like, how do we?
God. Oh God.
Where
How
do
did
we
he
get
know
this?
Eat it.
All right. Now that we've thoroughly spoiled that movie,
I was gonna say
you don't want to watch it now? Yeah.
it is. It's very hard to talk about that movie in any substantial way without spoiling.
No, that's fair.
Need to put
I'm
spoilers
sure.
ahead at the beginning of the episode.
Spoilers for all
I
movies.
thought that was a given. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's over. It's on HBO Max. It's a great film.
Yes.
I do have a little theory about Nicholas Holt's character though. Before we dive
Yeah?
into the next movie, I don't think he knew he would I thought that he was gonna get out of the idea of being dying.
Maybe
at
being
the
one
end.
of them.
Yeah,
he didn't believe the invitation.
He was like, well, I mean, at some point, but I think he favors himself as such a foodie. Like, he's so obsessed with it, and he's so enraptured with it. Like, he was thinking, maybe they'll just actually let me live instead if I can impress them with my ability to understand this art.
Maybe.
But
And he does not have the same death as the other restaurant goers. I won't tell you what his is, but
It's a great little microcosm of cult thinking, just cult thinking. And maybe you're right. Maybe he's like, maybe if I impress leader enough, he'll make me be one of them, stuff like that. But the thing is, he doesn't have the skills. He doesn't have the. Better said, he doesn't have the talent.
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, and there's also sort of, you think about it, there's sort of a no, even if you know this is going to happen, do you really think it's going to happen?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
somebody's going to tell you that they're going to kill you. Do you really believe that in the front of your mind?
right.
They didn't believe it till the chocolate started melting down their face.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Janet McTeer knew when they were running for their lives, the men. She's like, no, we're going to die tonight.
And then her sycophant's like, oh, yeah, you're right.
But it was really good. I highly recommend it. And it's tight.
Yeah.
As opposed to
about 100
everything
minutes.
Yeah, it's really well paced.
Yes. In a crowded year of good screenplays, I feel this one should be nominated, but probably won't. But definitely good work. Sorry, the final movie that we're going to get in depth on is one that's it's a very wide release. If you've got Netflix, you've definitely heard of this movie. You probably have even watched it. Glass Onion. I will not say the Knives Out mystery because I think that's.
He won't say it.
No, you won't say it.
I won't ever mention it again.
I would like to point out, I've seen this one.
Yay!
Mita has seen this movie.
It was on my homework. And I also went, because TBS or something played
The
Knives
first.
Out.
Oh, did you see the first one?
So I saw the first one after
Nice.
I watched Glass Onion.
Oh.
So
All right, all right. Tell us about your experience watching these two films.
In reverse order, yeah.
yeah, well, I like Glass Onion better, but I think it's because I didn't know anything about it. Because
Okay.
a lot of the story of Knives Out was, it's been out long enough that if you're on social media at all, you sort of get
It's been
bits and
spoiled.
pieces. So
Right.
yeah, but it felt like old school detective, like a little bit of Columbo, a little bit of Miss Marple and
Yeah.
Hercule Poirot, and so yeah, it was. I thought it was. I like the fact that he doesn't take him very seriously, although he takes his job very seriously. I did really really like it. I just remember they got on the island and I went, this guy's such an ass. Like at the moment the what's
Edward
his-
Norton.
yeah, his character shows up. I'm like, oh, he's a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, you mean?
No,
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson denies that's a because he wrote the screenplay so long ago that denies that that's a parallel.
Yeah.
He said it's just a tragic, horrible mistake.
But I'm just like, the whole thing is like you expect him to be this genius, and it's like, you, sir, are an idiot.
Yeah, it's at the very end. Goes like, no, he's just a plain old fashioned idiot.
No, but like the moment he opens his mouth, when you first see his character, you're like, he's a moron. Like, you are just
Edward Norton. Edward Norton's an interesting actor because he was big in the late '90s, early 2000s. It was Edward Norton time, and then it kind of fell off a little bit because he had he chose some bad roles. Then he kind of had a reputation of being hard to work with. And then he came back in this movie called Birdman, which is an excellent movie about theater, one of the best movies about theater, with Michael Keaton, where he basically played himself, and he was douchey. And I'm convinced he's kind of doing the same thing here. That is a version of Edward Norton for
Gotcha.
sure. He's not acting a whole lot
Playing
here.
to his strengths.
Yeah.
No, but it's like I was just it's very interesting because there's absolutely almost none of them have any redeemable qualities. Mm-hmm. They're all awful people.
Glass Onion, written and directed by Ryan Johnson. This is the second movie of a trilogy, the Benoit Blanc trilogy. There's definitely going to be at least one more. We're going to go around the room and tell. I'll go last. What did you think of it, Keith?
I enjoyed it. It took me a while to get into it. I noticed the pacing was a little bit slower than Knives Out originally, but
Yeah.
I got into it more so after the fact than I did with Knives Out.
Right,
because of
because
the twist and everything else.
Spoiler. The murder the true murder isn't revealed until an hour and 3 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
I tried to watch this movie again today to pick up on some of the kind of subtle clues in it.
And see, I think that's the problem with watching them back to back the way I did. I liked Glass Onion better because it was like a traditional murder mystery, and then trying to watch Knives Out where you know what happens beforehand
Right.
makes it a little
I have to say, it just,
changes up how you think.
Edward Norton's character really is like an idiot in terms of most of what he's done. But he did come up with that murder real quick.
What murder? It's spoilers. We're definitely gonna.
The real murder that happens halfway through.
the
Oh, yeah.
pineapple
You know,
juice.
Yeah,
that's
switching the
that
drinks.
that
Right.
was on the fly.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not well thought out.
No, yeah, exactly.
Go ahead. You were still.
Oh, you're fine. I mean, yeah, like that scene in general, like it's funny just the way that it was edited too. Like, it edited for the audience to see it as he was telling the story. Basically, like he set the drink down and then like he grabbed it instead of like him handing him his drink with the pineapple juice.
Yeah, there's a lot of that where it's like you see it one way and then
They reveal.
when he comes around and he's talking it through, you're like, no, think back and see it, and then
It's
you
actually
see
something
how it
different.
really happened.
Yeah. Kind of goes against the notion about like being an eyewitness to something is like
Right.
the least critical.
Did you watch for that stuff when you rewatched today? Like, did you catch any of those
No,
reveals?
He didn't. If you're talking about the switching of the glasses, I did start off with that. Dave Bautista grabbed a glass. I did not see Edward Norton switch a glass, and
Okay.
that first time, Edward Norton didn't switch a glass. They could have. Yeah. No, I didn't. I really did. I didn't.
Because I've seen lots of things that are like there's Easter eggs and there's clues like in plain sight the whole time, and so I would be curious to go back and watch it again and see what I may be able to catch or not. Like that kind of edit
Right.
where they're like, oh, but did you really see that? Like how
Yeah.
much of that is film editing? How much of it did they actually do?
Right.
Well, and I wonder how much of that is also along the lines of what did you really see? Because I mean, that's sort of the point at the end. Is like,
Yeah.
what did you see?
Raise
Yeah.
my hand.
It's
Oh,
like-
I did see him with the gun.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
did you really see it, or you just say it and you saw it?
Yep. I don't even know if it's a matter of knowing who did what. To me, I think the pacing and the tension of the first one
Yeah.
was higher.
There was definitely a lot of tension, especially with what's his name?
Michael Shannon,
John Michael Shannon. Yes, thank you.
So good.
God,
George
that was-
Jones.
Like I thought he was actually gonna do something to her.
Yeah.
Just because the way he was like speaking to her and like
Yeah.
the faces he was making, like I was like, oh god.
Yeah, so I feel like they leaned harder into the humor of this one, and I mean,
Right.
I guess humor is maybe a strong word, but
The absurd. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and granted, I will grant you the first one is much more. The whole time I'm sitting there going, "Girl, just tell him what happened. For God's sake, get your ass out of this trouble."
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
So for the whole movie, I'm like going, "Just tell him. Tell the cop. Tell the cop what happened. You're not gonna get in any trouble." Mm-hmm. But anyway, but yeah, and so. But yeah, I watched. I liked it. I liked it because it felt old school. I think
Yeah.
that's probably the reason.
And
I
that's
liked it.
and that's part of the reason why the first one was such a huge hit. Is that it really evokes that of
Agatha Christie.
Agatha Christie
Yeah.
chamber murder mystery clue. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
this one I loved the moment at the beach or after the beach where he's like, "Why are you here?" I thought that was going to turn. I thought that the invitation was going to be genuine and that Edward Norton's character, like the "Why you were here" was a put on. So that was actually kind of disappointing to figure out that it really was a trick that
Right.
that he was there. And then I think my next favorite scene was when he spoiled the game of Clue.
Oh, that's my favorite scene. He goes like,
Like 5 minutes into it, I was like the whole setup.
it was Birdie. And she's like, what? I hired Gillian Flynn to write this.
Yep, I thought that was fantastic. Also, just randomly, this surprised me. I missed a lot of the cameos. I'd have to go back to catch all of
Stephen
them.
Sondheim,
Yeah.
Steven Sondheim,
Angela Lansbury,
I did-
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Natasha Lyonne.
Yep. Yep.
and then
Ethan
my
Hawke made me
favorite-
do a
My favorite
Yeah.
is Hugh Grant for all of 10 seconds.
Right.
You can tell. It's funny. Like Benoit Blanc has Hugh Grant's partner. Fine, that's funny. But you can tell the way they shot it. I'm like, they were not even close to each other in the same vicinity. It's literally a one shot of Hugh Grant at the door, and then that's it. He was there for like 4 hours.
Well, this is now having looked at the cast on IMDb. My favorite now is the fact that Joseph Gordon-Levitt did the
Hourly Dong.
dong,
He played the yes.
the voice of the.
Joseph.
Philip Glass did that, damn it.
I know.
Yo-Yo Ma.
No, Philip Glass. He wrote it. He's like,
Oh.
Philip
Yeah, I
Glass
had
composed
Philip-
that.
I had Phil Glass composed
Yo-Yo
the
Ma
dong.
shows up at one of Birdie's parties.
Yeah.
do-
No, that I caught.
Who is the guy who lives on the island?
Oh, that's his friend Daryl.
Ryan Johnson's friend, right?
Based on Ryan Johnson's real life friend who just hangs
Okay.
around in his house.
'Cause
He
I
was
just-
the cop. He was the cop in the Knives Out. Not
The really giddy one, the one
Yeah.
that just had a good time the whole time? Yeah,
that
okay.
was him.
No, I just was amused by that. I kept thinking he was going to make a bigger part. It was going to be a bigger, important
Yeah, like he's gonna
piece.
have a point in the story instead
we're
of
just
being
hanging out,
there.
man.
He just,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, you want to hang out with me? It's like,
I
I'm
love
trying
it.
to solve a
Let me
murder.
get some of that Jared Leto kombucha.
I
There
do
you
think
go.
it was beautiful. It was flashy. The sets and costumes are beautiful.
Huge budget.
What did you think of the end, that conflict, the smashing of the glass and everything else? What did you think of that?
I think it went on too long.
The hissy fit.
Yeah.
Oh,
The tantrum and such.
yes, it did. It did go on.
I
Too long.
hated the hissy fit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So I guess I watched this movie again because when I first watched it, I was like, okay, it's good. But maybe I need to watch it again because I want to like it more. And when I watched it again, I found it kind of annoying. And it is not in. I love Knives Out, the first one. I don't know if I really like this movie because.
There was just so much high expectation from the first one.
Yeah.
And unpopular people will probably disagree with this who know his work. Ryan Johnson, I think, operates better with a smaller budget. His two big, he did. Joseph Gordon-Levitt appeared in a lot of his first movies and kind of got his career. That's why Joseph Gordon-Levitt will appear in a little cameo in most of Ryan Johnson's movies. He did Brick. He did
Yeah.
Brothers Bloom. He did the great sci-fi movie Looper.
I love Brothers Bloom.
Yeah, all these movies are modestly budget, and then he hit the big time, and they gave him Star Wars: The Last Jedi,
Gotcha.
and we saw how that turned out. So that's him with a big budget, and then he goes like, okay, I'm going to make this little Knives Out movie, my little passion project. It got hugely successful, and like Netflix is like backed up the Brinks trunk and said, please give us two
Let's
more.
give us you Greek Island.
And then he got a huge budget again, and this is a very production. I feel the same way about this movie that I felt about Nightmare Alley last year. The art direction is almost too much. It's art directed to an inch of its life.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is just so meticulous and so placed together. It doesn't feel real.
Okay.
And I know these are supposed to be the rich of the rich of the rich of the rich, a type of almost
It's hard to relate.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
I
also
mean, that's also the point. Much like the menu, like there is a skewering of culture here going on.
But that's the problem. I can see people like in the menu. I don't think these people exist because at the beginning, my main crux problem with the movie structurally is like I don't buy for a second that these six people ever were friends
Yeah.
in real life.
that I believe.
And my brother was like, no, they explained that. Like Addie brought them all together. I'm like, no, she didn't. It literally said in the movie when I watched it again, they hung out in a bar.
Yeah.
And that's how they became friends.
He, the guy.
The guy
rich-
brings them together, yeah, but they were friends first.
Andy brings him into the fold.
yes.
So he's the only one that gets brought into the friend group. Apparently, they all drink together at the bar. How they all became
How?
friends.
Right.
Yeah, I
Do
don't
you
know.
think Joe Rogan is going to be friends with Kim Kardashian at a bar? Because
Right.
Dave Bautista's Joe Rogan, and
Pretty
then
Birdie.
Kate Hudson is a older socialite Kim Kardashian. They're not going to hang out. They're not just going to kick back and have a beer. doesn't make no sense. And so I don't buy that they're all friends together.
Or that they stayed friends.
Yes,
Right. Yeah.
and that they still do these little
That's
weekends
even-
because we're such a close-knit group.
Yeah.
I think that's the more hard to believe piece of the information is the fact that they still call each other on the phone and have these discussions and get together.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think so. They
Oh, we went over
cut
to
each
your
other loose.
house when we were worried about you. I'm like, you.
No.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
they spent a lot of time setting up the fact that these people are all over the country, like
Yes.
at the beginning. So
Right.
They just
a
happened to
week
be
and a
in
half
town
ago,
together,
you
yeah.
just happened to be, yeah.
And I mean, like, a lot of that is also byproduct of the fact that it was, like, a lot of the filming was during COVID and so, you know, along those lines, too, you know.
I do have to say her showing up with the fishnet face mask made me laugh.
I know.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that is totally fitting in her character. There's great character. I think the movie works better when it's like little character beats.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's when the movie really shines. Although, let
Kate
me tell you,
Hudson and all that.
Kate Hudson is great in this movie. You
Yeah.
know, I always love Kate Hudson. But someone had a note like, okay, Daniel Craig ain't wearing any suits in this movie. I've seen him enough in suits. Put him in anything but suits.
Let's put him in that weird striped bathing suit.
Yes. Let's put him in he looks like
A onesie.
He looks like the blonde kid from Scooby Doo with his so his costume choices in this, I'm like, well, because I remember telling Tam when after we saw the movie, she was like, "Oh, I didn't know Ben Mont Blanc was gay," and I was like, "You didn't?" And then like, "You didn't know in the first?" Like, it's subtle, but like, have you seen his neckties? and
A cravat.
And then his second movie, I'm like, you didn't think he was gay? The man's wearing a one-piece bathing suit.
Well, what's scary
He is-
is
he
until
literally-
you mentioned that like Hugh Grant was his partner. I was like, oh.
You didn't get that Ben Mont Blanc was gay.
No, I see it
Wow,
now,
you
but I'm
really-
like, I really just was I just thought he was
What
the Southern
straight man
gentleman.
goes from the tub to wearing a shirt and tie with a robe over it?
You don't know his life.
Benoit Blanc, that's a straight man who does that.
All right, the big reveal that it's shocking to me that in these two movies, the big reveal is the asshole who probably did it. And I'm just like, really, we're going that way again? It's the guy who I thought it was the whole time?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think they're walking a fine line here. Yes, they're honoring and having an homage to the old detective movies, but there's also a level of I don't know if satire is the right word, but I mean they're definitely leaning in to making a little bit of fun about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think the obvious choice is the obvious choice.
Well, I mean, and even in the first one, in Knives Out, it's not quite so much there's not as big a twist. And Glass Onion, there's a couple of them where I went, oh, because like when Andy's revealed who she really is, and then later on when this happens, I'm like, oh. But part of that is also because you are an unreliable witness,
Right.
because what they show you is not what really happened,
right.
Until after they explain it.
Deconstructing the mystery to really show you what's happening.
Right. So there's a whole lot of things that you're like, oh, because you obviously didn't see what you thought you saw.
Right.
But the first one in Knives Out, I kept thinking it was going to be the old guy who was playing a whole, like,
Right.
the long game
Yeah.
on everybody.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to show up and go,
Big reveal.
you guys are all assholes. You're out of the will.
Right. Right. No.
Or he was testing her to see if she was worthy.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, what a test. Wow.
I don't think it's almost like solving the murder mystery is ancillary to the point of these films.
Yeah.
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 I think you're right. I think that's a good point because I felt the same way as I did in like the first one. I'm like, okay, that's fine. All right. But yeah, it is more of the satire of it all.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you look at the newest version of Murder on the Orient Express, it has a very similar feel because after it's all over with, you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's how it happened.
Let's talk about some movies that were a little bit off the beaten path. One that we've all seen that has got a lot of love this year is a movie that it was my most anticipated movie of the year. It's Banshees of Inisherin. This movie is written and directed by the great Martin McDonagh. He wrote this movie called In Bruges, starring Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, which I love.
Which I've never gotten all the way through.
But when you haven't got to when Ray Fiennes shows up.
I don't remember.
Ray Fiennes shows
It's been
up.
a
You
long
would
time.
remember it if you got to
God,
Ray
Ray
Fiennes.
Fiennes shows up with 20 minutes to go in the movie and
Oh,
just
yeah, no, I never got
owns
that
the
far.
screen.
Yeah.
Just steals the movie right from him.
It's great.
The story is quite simple, but very complex.
Shakespearean.
Yeah, it's about two friends on an island. They're on an island off the coast of Ireland. They're kind of like out there on their own. This village has like, I don't know, probably less than 100 people. You can't tell if it's 1823 or 1923. It's kind of time has not touched it much. And so it's about these two friends, and they've been friends for all their lives. And then one day Brendan Gleeson's like, I don't want to be friends anymore. And then Colin Farrell's like, why? And he's like, because he doesn't give him an explanation, and then eventually Colin Farrell wears him down and goes like, his explanation is, I've got only a little bit of time left on this earth. I got 10, 15 years left, and instead of bullshitting in a bar with you, I would like to spend that time focusing on my music. He's a fiddler. So he goes like, I want to get better at writing music. I want to get better at music, and I can't do that if we're talking about your donkey here in a bar for 4 hours. So, and this kind of hurts Colin Farrell. This kind of hurts him. And it hurts him a lot, actually, because it's the most meaningful relationship in his life, kind of. But the island is a character unto itself, because everybody in this town has led kind of the same life. They know each other's business, and they're all cynical because, they're Irish. Except for Colin Farrell. And he's kind of like this kind of happy-go-lucky. He's not smart. He's not swift, but he's just like kind of a good fellow. And he's the only one that's not cynical. And this is the one act in the world that could turn him cynical, is losing his best friend. Finally, Brendan Gleeson is like, if you don't leave me alone, if you do not leave me alone, I'm going to go back to my house. I'm going to take a knife and I'm going to cut off one of my fingers for every time you talk to me. He goes like, do you understand now? And Colin Farrell's like, oh, not really, no. And you think to yourself, like, well, why is he doing this? Because he does it. Colin Farrell gets...
Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah, Colin Farrell goes up to Brendan Gleeson and goes like, no, I want you to tell me why. Give me the real reason why. Like, if we fought, I want to know why. And he's like, And he's just like, he takes a lever, cuts his finger off, and throws it at his door. And so Colin Farrell just opens up, and there's fingers at his door. And that's the one part of the movie I didn't like so much, is the fact that this 60-year-old man is walking around with like a bloody nub, just blood just pouring out of his hand. He's like, he's fine, he's Irish.
I do want to make mention
it
though,
off.
the Irish Civil War is happening in the
Yeah.
background, but they don't like make mention of it. Like they don't politicize it for any particular reason. It's just like there's background conflict.
The
going
troubles across the way.
On. Yeah.
No, it is important for the time. It is to note what's being reflected.
Yeah.
The real reason that you kind of have to like sit down and think about, the real reason that Brendan Gleeson is doing this is because he realizes that he's not quite good enough to be known. He's not going to be Mozart.
To be great.
Right.
To be great, to be known. Yeah. He goes like, he has a great line. This is one of the best parts of the movie. And now that I'm talking about this movie, I find out I like it more than I thought. There's this great part where he's talking. He goes like, no one has ever remembered for being nice. Cut to Colin Farrell with a picture of Jesus right behind him. So he's wrong. He's wrong.
Yeah.
So he realizes he doesn't have the skills enough to be great. So like, Colin Farrell's going to be the blame for this.
Gotcha.
And so he's using him for like, you're the reason I can't do this because you won't leave me alone. So I had to chop off my fingers. Like, no, the real reason is you were not good enough, so you need somebody to blame for it.
Gotcha.
I mean, I think there's also, just on the surface, discussion of what do you value? 'Cause, do you value the idea of being great, of having a legacy that lives beyond you, whether that's in business or in art or how people are going to remember you, or do you value people and relationships?
Right.
Because people keep on telling Colin Farrell's character that you're a nice guy, and he's like, I used to think that's a good thing, but now the way people are saying it, I'm not so sure anymore.
Right.
Like, is that a good thing to be the good guy, the nice guy, and so what is it that you value in your time here? Do you put value on legacy and how you can potentially leave your mark, or do you value your relationships? And, you know, I mean, they really do. They split at the end. I think what Brendan Gleeson says, you know, we can call it quits. And Colin Farrell's like, nope, we'll call this the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's the end. It's the end of their relationship, and it's awful. It's bitter. They both deserve all of the accolades that they're getting, and Barry Keoghan deserves all the accolades that he's getting. He's phenomenal.
Yes. Carrie Condon as Colin Farrell's sister.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, the way she leaves, I don't like that bit of writing because a lot of the conflict that is getting shoveled on Colin Farrell's character has to do with really poor communication styles from everyone around him.
You're telling me Irish people have poor communication skills? That's weird.
So I wish that there had been a little more depth there with her. Maybe not with Brendan Gleeson's character, but with her. Because, I mean, it was a total shock. And if he, you know, obviously he knew something was wrong. He asks her, what's wrong? And she's like, nothing.
Yeah.
You know.
Carrie, that's Colin Farrell's sister. She's always the one who goes like, there's nothing going on in this island and you boys are stupid, but I love you. And
and she gets a job on the mainland and leaves.
As a librarian. She F's off.
Yeah, she's like, we have to talk because I got a job and I'm leaving. And he's like,
and Barry Keoghan plays this idiot, this simple-minded boy who likes her.
He's the tragic jester character. Yeah. If you're gonna go the Shakespeare route, he's the tragic jester.
Yeah, there's like Colin Farrell hates him because he's always kind of hang around. His father's the sheriff who beats him up, and there's just this little sweet little scene where he's talking to Carrie Condon. He goes like, "Well, do you ever think that maybe, you know, that me and you could, you know, one day?" And she's like, no way. He's like, oh, okay. And then the next time we see him, he's being fished out of a lake. Oh. Yeah. And it didn't click with me the first time I saw it. I was like, oh, he killed himself. He went like, and he goes like, oh, that's all right. I'll talk to you later. And he went right into jump off of a lake. I'm just like, that is so sad.
Yeah. It's really layered. I would like to watch it again. I think there's more to get out of it.
It'll win. It'll probably win Best Original Screenplay this year. Mark McDonough, who's won that. He also directed 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Mm-hmm.
So good.
And he's done a wonderful play that I'd like to do here one day called The Pillow Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's a wonderful writer. Black comedy, just really dark. It's a funny movie.
See, that's the thing.
It is a funny movie.
This is a funny movie.
Colin Farrell's befuddlement at why Brendan Gleeson has done this is very entertaining to watch because he hadn't done it. He goes like, well, if we're rowing, just tell me if we're wowing, okay? Mm-hmm. You're like, no, we haven't fought. No, I this is not.
And watching the rest of the town grapple with it, too.
Yeah, like, oh, you boys rowing? Oh, we can't have that in here. You can't, but we boys, we're not rowing. I just don't know why he's not talking to me anymore. And he tells them, he just doesn't believe him.
Yeah.
Right.
That's also on HBO Max.
Yeah.
I don't have HBO
so,
Max.
Well, I mean, get it. What's wrong with you?
She has everyone but HBO Max.
I have everybody but HBO Max.
Oh.
When you asked me what my top 5 were for the year, I didn't put this on my Post-it note, but somebody else told me when I told them I was going to be doing this podcast. They were like, "Oh, did you tell them Spirited?" And I was like, "No, he would probably smack me for that." But I really did.
All right, we're done, and that's the Neuse podcast, everybody.
Did you see it?
What is it?
Spirited.
It's on Apple TV, I think.
The Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds. Musical.
Oh no! I cut this out. I thought you were talking about maybe like a Christian exclusive movie. I'm sorry. I thought like.
Okay, I would like to point out I don't watch movies and I know what the hell she was talking about.
I thought you meant like a Kurt Cameron or something.
Yeah.
My God.
I did. That was genuine. I'm not being.
Please don't cut this out.
Was this like one of those that was just available to see in church or something?
That's called Spirited Away. That's about the rapture.
All right, sorry. Yes, Spirited with Will Ferrell and
Ryan
James
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Yes, I am a little mad you're mentioning this movie in a top movie list, but go ahead.
I am not generally a Will Ferrell fan. People have to drag me to his movies. His humor is not my thing, but I loved it. I loved the innocence of it. I thought it was a really good. It took, it was a really good twist on the original Carol story. And I think if I had to boil it down, there's a song about being unredeemable that I think captures basically the entire point of the book, The Christmas Carol. You were talking about off-the-wall movies that, haven't gotten a lot of talk, and I'm like, I know that that's a weird one, but when they were this person that asked me, like, oh, did you mention Spirited? Because apparently I must have talked about it a lot in November, December, and I did. I really enjoyed it. It's kind of snuck into one of my favorite movies of last year.
Like, is it smarter than I'm insinuating that it is, based on the marketing?
Yeah, it's pretty sharp.
Okay.
I mean, is there broad humor because it's Will Ferrell? Yes, but there's also a lot of the snark that Ryan Reynolds is known for. It's a really good marriage of, you wouldn't think those two things, that they would work well together. It was surprising.
Okay.
It's, the budget is not, you can see from some of the props and the, like, oh, that is definitely fake snow type thing. But
I'm still going through Severance on Apple TV, so I'm just gonna wait my time for all that, but that's,
What's an underrated movie that...
Underrated movie? I mean, the Northman is not going to get any mentions at all.
That is on my list to see. I really...
Mm-hmm. I want to say it's still on Peacock, but I'm not sure if it still is.
Okay.
But it's great. I mean, it's the original, revenge story. It's what inspired...
Lion King with Vikings.
Yeah.
Also known as Hamlet.
Hamlet with Vikings.
Vikings, yeah. Hamlet, the original, pretty much.
Okay.
Originally, like the story that inspired Shakespeare to write Hamlet.
Yeah.
So,
I'll have to give it a look.
I don't know about that, but
I mean that's what I came across. That's
so.
all.
Yeah.
You think Shakespeare was inspired by the Northman, or like the
legend
that it's based on?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's if he wrote his plays.
I was gonna say.
Right. Thank you for being here. So we can talk about these movies. It's always fun to do. This is not a movie podcast, but we like to do it a couple of times a year, and it's been a while since we did one. So we are glad if you gave us a chance in this new year to listen to something different. We're going to be back in end of January, early February with Stephanie Viren and some of the cast and crew from Monte Carlo, and we're going to get them in here and talk about that show.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Absolutely. What is it? What is it about? It's kind of about like a.
It is about a middle-aged, slightly older than middle-aged woman who has worked in a factory her whole life and been taking care of her aging mother, and she plays the lottery, the numbers, and she finally hits it big and makes enough money that she's able to travel and visit places that she's always wanted. So she takes her mother off to Monte Carlo, and it's very sweet. It's sort of about the aging relationship between child and parent, and sort of the expectations and how things sort of change as the child becomes the caregiver, kind of a thing. So it is British, like. So they're in England. So the humor is a little drier, but it is very funny, but it's also very, very sweet. Yeah. So
we look forward to that. That's going to go up, as I said, in the middle of February 17th, 18th, and 19th, and then the following week is the 24th and 25th. Yes. So thank you for listening to Neuse Little Podcast, and we look forward to giving you more episodes to listen to in the new year. Maybe not quite as many, because we're kind of doing the thing where like. Once we have something to say, we're going to give you a podcast. But we're not going to try to make content out of nothing. We love all our people here. I don't know if anybody wants to listen to 4 hours of them talking about stuff, whatever pops into their head. But
if you've got an idea and you think you want to hear it, let us know.
Yes, I am open to. We are open to suggestions. Please give me an idea for a podcast, people, because I'm tired of thinking up all of the ones. It's like, well, we could do one about this. Let's do one about the wigs. We haven't talked about the wigs yet. Let's do the one about cleaning the storeroom. They're gonna love that. So if you have some entertaining idea, something that you'd like to share with us, please do. Drop us a line. NeuseLittleTheater@gmail.com. We will respond. Or on Facebook. Someone will respond to you. We promise. All right. So thank you, Abby, for joining us, talking about movies. You were really good. You did not disappoint. You were really.
She was worried.
Yeah. We were thinking that at first, like, oh God,
Take
Abby.
that compliment to the bank.
Yes.
You did not disappoint.
You didn't suck, so I appreciate it.
Well, to put that comment in context, she said she was worried.
You said you were worried, and you shouldn't have been. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, old reliable Keith Davis, for being being on the podcast.
Of course, no problem.
Your insights are greatly appreciated. And Mita, thank you for actually watching a new movie.
Watching a movie.
Watching a movie. Very well
You
done.
contributed. That's, yes.
I was given homework and I followed
I
through.
said you mentioned I thought that maybe that you would like the movie, and I was like, I bet she wants to at least be on the conversation a little bit. So I'm like, I bet she can watch this over.
Well, and if it's fun to be able to let you are our audience literally right now as we're talking about these movies and why they're good and explaining them.
I want you to write down. Or your homework for me is to write down the plot of everything, everywhere, all at once in a linear format.
Don't forget the Google eyes.
Yeah. Don't forget the hot dog hands. And if you bite into the hot dog hands, mustard and ketchup pours out.
Oh my god.
It's a real thing in the movie. Really happened.
That sounds like a bad acid trip.
In that
is.
particular reality, Jamie Lee Curtis and Michelle Yeoh are a couple.
Okay.
Yes, they are a couple. All right,
Couple
we're
of
gonna end
people
up
with hot dog hands.
That's right.
the possibilities. We're gonna end on that awkward note. All right, thank you for listening to Neuse Little Podcast. We'll see you next time. See you later.
Bad. Oh my god.
How much did that go?
Hour and a half.
I'm gonna have to cut at least 30 minutes out of that.
No, just leave it all.
No. Credits for the show. Your host and creator is Matt Gore. That's me. My producer and editor is Mita Toole.
That's me.
Music is by Cody Walker. Please go look up Cody on Cody Walker Music on YouTube, and he's also on Cody Walker Music on Facebook as well. He's local, so and he's got a couple of albums out. Easy listening, John Denver type of guitar voice. That Cody Walker. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.